From the underground to the world stage. One stage, countless voices. The conversation that shapes culture, politics, entertainment, and society. Politicians, comedians, musicians, actors, public servants, leaders, unfiltered, unscripted, unmissable. This is Debated Live.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Debated Live. We are live and direct right here. It's February the 11th, and we are live inside the place. We have some special guests in the show today. Before I introduce, I'll just play a clip here, if I can get that sorted out, to introduce our special guest on the show today. Stay tuned to Debated Live and direct inside here, coming from London.
And right now,
What is going on?
the philosophy is that it carries is only one worldview, which is Western individualism. It's competition over cooperation. It is efficiency over equity. It's growth over balance. And if you code that worldview into machines, you don't just create new problems, you amplify injustice. So the question is not whether philosophy impacts
Right. For the first time, I think this we had a little bit of technical on there, but ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Heidegger on the show. Heidegger, how are you? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you again, Jordan, for inviting me today.
No, it's absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show. It seems like the birds and the bees, Heather, you were coming and they're like, you know what, we're gonna get right into it. But it's all good, so good. So Heidegger, before we actually get right into the TEDx video, if you guys didn't watch it, we will play it back again. I mean, it's going to be rebroadcast on Vubix TV across all platforms as well. We will be on Twitch and YouTube, everything as well. So don't worry, we will replay this tomorrow. So if you're watching, Heidegger, you just did a TEDx performance and a speech about AI and Africa. First of all, what's your background? Tell us, how did you get to that level? What is it that you do for the listeners and viewers that don't actually know?
Yes, of course. So I actually didn't start out in tech. I studied political science. A lot of my African family members questioned that highly because they said it's only you can be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor. That's the three things we are kind of allowed or that is valued. But I told my parents I won't ask you for any rent money ever. So I will study what I want to study. And I study political science. So that's where my idealism comes from, I believe, always trying to want to look for solutions in a way to make a good impact. And I started there, went to impact investing, where I managed a social impact fund that was dedicated to microfinance. That was the first time I was coming across social impact and, how money can actually impact markets and what capital and resource can do. Fast forward, so that's where I started. I moved to San Francisco. And then I thought, because I'm a curious human being, when I'm in the heart of technology, why not start working in tech and see where the way will lead me from there? So I started in support, actually. And in support at Asana, I don't know if you know it, it's a project management tool that is, or a work management tool that is being built out of San Francisco. And there I started seeing, okay, the impact technology can have on our society, who actually are decision makers in this process, who's building those tools that we are actually using on a single day basis. And I also saw, the critical importance of innovation, because, Silicon Valley also is always looking out for the next best idea. So here I started getting to see, okay, technology, what can technology do, who builds it, and how important innovation is. And from that, I moved back to Germany because I missed my home. That's where I was raised, but I'm originally Eritrean. And wanted to move closer to my family and continue working in tech. This time at the research and development side. So I'm working as a software release manager at the moment, and I'm managing any features and any bug fixes that comes with the release, which is every 7 weeks in my specific field. Here again, I saw the same patterns. The decision maker, who builds the tools we use on a single basis, and are we included in the process or are we excluded out of it? And yeah, that's a little bit of my career.
I really love that. I mean, the funny thing is, Eritrea, a couple of years ago, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago, we actually produced one of the business awards service, the Global African Business Awards in Ethiopia. The day I was producing it was the day Ethiopia and Eritrea decided to stop the animosity. That was the day where, like people were celebrating. It was cool to see. That leads me quite nicely into the continent. As you know, one of the magazines that we publish, we do 500,000 copies of, is Republic Africa. And Republic Africa, we do 500,000 copies of. As you can see on the back of it, we've got Ibrahim Traore, who's doing great work for Burkina Faso. He's really changed the face of the country in a space of a few years. And you've got Aliko Dangote, who's one of the richest in the continent. Those were our exclusive interviews for the front cover for the previous episodes. And we're doing so much more in the continent. In the past, 20-something years, we did a lot in Europe and Asia and North America. And now our focus is on Africa and seeing, what can be done to make sure Africa is not like the West, but it's like what it should have been: community, love, support, and really making sure you're not building a selfish a future, but a future where young people can act like humans. So when you look at AI, and you touch on this speech you did for TEDx, the whole idea of AI is artificial intelligence. And make no mistake, I've been in business for 29 years. AI has existed for 29 years. For those who know, when I remember when Travis launched Uber, I was one of the people that was called to invest in it, and I didn't think it was going to work. I was like, how can you watch somebody from a phone driving a car all across the place, and you're seeing him, and he just looked at me and just, but mate, the technology out there, this is nothing. People can see you right now for where you are. And I didn't believe him until Uber was released. And when you see today AI, some of us that were involved in the industry from 29 years ago, AI already existed, you know,
Yeah.
artificial intelligence already existed. It's just been made commercially public now. And what's been made public is like they're feeding people 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. It's just like, come on, guys. My question, and I asked Vusi is one of the leading speakers in Africa. I asked him, I said, my question is, does Africa need AI? Because you see, Africa needs to be reconnected back to what we were, because the motherland is the motherland. That's the root of love, not artificial intelligence, natural intelligence. So does Africa need AI?
Big question, very good question. I'm not fully sure, to be honest, because love. I think we lost what we built, the intelligence that we built already in the.
Did we lose it, or did we forget it?
We
because
forgot
words
it.
are very, very strong. Yeah. Did we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we forgot it. Sorry, I will. We forgot it, but we are now on the way to trace it back. Right? We are now. I can see much more movements of archiving data, just writing down what your ancestors did, the religions we had, the philosophies we have, the laws we made. So much that if you look into it specifically, you understand how advanced it was always, right? So
Definitely.
I like that we're going to that. Back might be the wrong wording as well, but I'm really happy to see that we're going to the core. Let's phrase it this way. Yeah. And from that angle, you could say maybe we don't need it. But and the reality is, I think if we do not, AI is taking over the world, because the simple question, even if it exists from the beginning, is: are you willing not to use AI in your daily business? Are you willing to do?
Let me answer that by saying, I always say words are very strong. So you just said AI is taking over the world, right? I remember my first company I launched was 1998, and at the time, the dial-up internet was the AI. People were scared. I'm talking about what came out commercially. Everyone was, this dial-up internet is going to take over the world. It's going to take up jobs. This dial-up, you're sitting waiting for the internet to come. Netscape, you're trying to email, it's taking an hour, but this is going to take up. And yes, it did disrupt, right? But did it take over the world? Because think about what I'm saying to you. In the end, most people turned around back to human. They came back to human. Most people now are like, this is over. I'm over social media. I'm over. People are not really calling each other on the phones no more. They want to meet face to face. Even COVID showed a lot of people that they didn't want to be trapped in their house. They want to meet people. So did it take over the world, or did it give the impression that it took over the world?
That's a very good analysis, I would say. If you say it like this, I would not say taking over the world. I would say more it took over the way that we do a couple of things. And I think you cannot say it did not change the face of the earth. Like, let's take us, for instance, like Africans, we are spread all over the world. Just the way that you can communicate with an uncle that you could never communicate with over face is, a change that you can do. Like, I remember my parents, especially in the 80s, or when everyone spread around, they used to be on the phone really loud talking to other family members. So I think everyone has that experience. So it did change how we do things. It does not change that we all want human connection and community. That did not change. I think that is always the same. I think especially COVID showed us, we need each other. It does not work if we are all by ourselves, even if we have access to every Netflix show, every YouTube channel, every Instagram social media that you want. It's not the same. You cannot, it's not that we switch it, it's more an add-on. And from that perspective, I think we need AI, but I think we need to shape it with our norms and values, so it reflects us. That's more my take on this. But you're right.
I get
I
it.
would
I
say
get
it
it.
changed it. Yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. So, Heidegger, coming to your TEDx performance and your speech, how did that come about? And what do you feel about the reception you got from there? And what were the key takeaway points from your speech on TEDx?
Yes. So, okay, I will tell a little bit the story. I am a vivid believer in vision boards. Right. I create every year with a group of friends vision boards, and I'll outline what I want to see in my life. Right. It could be that if you're religious, you're speaking to God. If you're spiritual, you're speaking to the universe. Whatever it is, I want to visualize what I want to see. And I said one day I will be on a TEDx stage and I'll speak about Africa, AI, and soul, basically. Like, like something that has an impact on or changes the way we look at technology and give it a little bit more soul. So I am in a Black female business group where we connect with each other. Someone said, we're looking for someone that would be interested. You can apply. I applied. I got interviewed 3 times, and I sharpened the message, because I was just thinking, I knew it is AI in Africa because my heart beats for exactly those 2 things, African philosophy specifically. And I shaped my message during that time. And I was thinking about it and thinking, okay, what is important for me? And I want to create a different narrative. I want to say, I don't believe we are the problem. We never were, even though the narrative is like that. It's getting better now. But if you look at the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, still people were looking at us with, we need something, we need support. But actually, for me, we are the solution. And that's what I'm kind of saying with philosophies. If we use this as blueprint for our AI, a technology that shapes now the world, or maybe change it, why not also use methodologies from the African country which could benefit everyone? Because in my TEDx speak, I talk about Ubuntu from South Africa, Ma'at from Egypt, Sankofa from Ghana, right? And I talk about how the Eritrean community helped me when my father passed. So those are values, community-driven philosophies that we need when AI is trying to make it very individualistic at the moment. It's about scaling, no matter what. Everyone wants to, it's like a gold rush, like, cowboy season in a way.
Yes.
And everyone wants to benefit from it, but nobody thinks about the consequences. So to answer your question, I had that in my heart. I applied when I had the chance. I had amazing coaches, so Golden, Alexander, Konate, 3 of them that helped me through the process, that really shaped my standing on the stage, because I'm a very shy person in a way, especially when eyes are looking at me. And I made clear that what I want to say to the world is that if you African philosophies are a roadmap, can be for life and can be also for AI. And the last question you had was, how did it resonate? Actually, pretty well. I was kind of skeptical. I was critical. I was saying, hey, you're leaving us out, but you're actually also missing out with that. And I thought maybe someone would say, okay, you're talking about African philosophies that are community driven. Does that mean the rest of the world is not community driven, right? I had a little bit of feedback like that, where people were saying, okay, what do you mean? Do you mean that's just specific to Africa? I didn't say that. I said the African philosophies that I shared, the cultures that I come from, the experiences that I made with Africans in Africa and in the diaspora are always community driven. And that for me is a gift and a solution. So yeah, mostly good, but also some critical.
It was very brave, and obviously it reached our team. We are always looking for people. And as I said to you earlier on, I said to you, every voice matters, especially with a continent that has been beaten slavery, colonization, so much has happened to the continent. And to see the continent rising, I've traveled across, just came back from Egypt a week ago. I've done stuff in Ethiopia. I've not been to Eritrea yet. South Africa. I've been to so many countries across the continent, and to really see the growth. The young boy, what's his name? Not Kai Cenat. I Show Speed.
I Show Speed.
Literally opened the eyes of a lot of people, because I literally saw African Americans online in tears, and people didn't understand. We have an office in America, and I remember the first time I went to America in 2007, and when I watched the TV and what I saw, what CNN and all the stations were showing about Africa was not Africa I knew, and it was just like going into the roughest, the dummiest places, and always showing that, and nobody ever saw the other part. So what I Show Speed showed, it wasn't just the lack of poverty in certain areas. There is poverty everywhere in the world, but is the community you're talking about, because it showed him love. Because there was this thing where a divide and conquer mentality, where they said African Americans don't like Africans, or Africans don't like African Americans. There was that divide thing. But I Show Speed was welcomed in Ethiopia. He was welcomed in South Africa, welcome in Ghana. They just made him feel so welcome that people in Africa, in America, were in tears. That they for years they've been sold something different. So, do you think Africa needs new PR? Does it need a new marketing, so that the old way people look to Africa should change? Or do you think where we are at now is about just concentrating and focusing on the people in the continent rather than worrying about what the outside world thinks?
I would say, do we need new marketing? I don't think so. I think honest marketing would be what we need. Like, people looking at Africa the honest way. Just look at it. You can show one side, you can show the other side. It's like I Show Speed changed it because he showed the true heart of the continent. Also the progress, also the people. That's just an honest way of looking at it. The problem was it was very one-sided in the past. But to come to your question, is it our responsibility to change how people look at the African continent? I would say no, it's not, right? Because given that you see so much talent now on the African continent, like, the work you do, the work so many people are doing on the continent, the marketing or the reality of what the people are looking at is changing anyways. It's not just that people are thinking, okay, we need to, like, it's not out of altruistic reason people are interested in the African market, right? It is because it's the next biggest market that there will be. It's just, it's not just so should we put in effort changing the narrative? We could also say that's your problem. I know the wealth, the richness, the opportunity, the innovation that is on the continent, and you can believe kind of what you want to believe. That would be one, but I think we don't need that anymore, because I think you can see us everywhere now, and in
Definitely.
places.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah. So
no, I completely agree.
What I'm basically saying, whether you like it or not, is not going to change.
It's not going to change. I love that. I love that. Heregha, lovely to speak to you. You're not going anywhere because you're joining us at the end of the show for the big debate. We have also Jason Lee coming up next on the show. Stay tuned to Debated Show. And Heregha, lovely speaking to you for now. I will speak to you later on in the show. That was such a good insight.
From the underground to the world stage. One stage, countless voices. The conversation that shapes culture, politics, entertainment, and society. Politicians, comedians, musicians, actors, public servants, leaders, unfiltered, unscripted, unmissable. This is Debated Live.
That's right. That's right. So we will be having Jason Lee on the
But it ain't
show.
just another psyop. It's a test. If you think about it, this wasn't just pedophilia and murder, bro. It was child slavery and genocide, bro. And usually when we think about slavery and genocide, it's like one ethnic group, bro. But this was child slavery worldwide, bro. And they released the Epstein files as a test. Because all of y'all conspiracy theorists, we knew what their end game was, right? We know what their ultimate goal was. Enslavement of humanity, bro. Enslavement in the entire world, bro. So they releasing the Epstein files as a test to see if we gonna do something about it, bro. And if you think about it, first they released COVID worldwide, then they did the vaccine worldwide to see if we would do anything, and we didn't do anything, bro. Now they released the Epstein files, which was child slavery worldwide, bro. And if we don't do something about it, bro, they move into the next step. Enslavement of humanity. That's the end game. That's all we gotta do something. We have to demand all pedophiles be publicly executed. Every single one of them, bro. This ain't about left versus right anymore, bro. This is not a game. This is the end game. Wake the fuck up.
That's right. Jason Lee. That's Jason Lee there. Jason Lee, how are you, mate?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good, good, good. Now, good to have you on the show. Jason, we saw a clip on the clips that caught its attention on there. Is you're talking about the release of the new Epstein file. Now, I'm gonna have a different take on this. When you're growing up and you watch films, I've got kids now. I don't let my kids watch films that have got violence in it, that have got anything to do that can damage their brains. I personally don't watch any films with violence in it. But when you're growing up and you watch films with violence in it, films that class themselves as entertainment, but they've got loads of things in it that just are not normal, loads of blood, fighting, shooting, killing, and all that sort of stuff. Does that desensitize your mind that when you start seeing stuff like this being fed, you become outraged and outraged? But it now goes back to being a film again because nothing ever happens. And it's a program that has been embedded since you were young. So a lot of people are seeing what's happening and what's being released now. And they are outraged, but they were outraged about COVID. And they were outraged about the weapons of mass destruction. And they were outraged about, I can just keep going and keep going and keep going. I can even go all the way back to slavery, where they used to kill Africans and put them on postcards, where they used to take babies and feed them to crocodiles and take postcards and take pictures next to it. And nobody thought that was outrageous. They thought that was completely normal. The same generation comes back again in the future doing the same thing, and we have the same outrage and outrage, but this has all happened. This has been happening for time. So what's different now?
Well, with these Epstein files, and I think the difference with COVID is, with COVID there was still a lot of covert and psychological warfare, a lot of things that the government was saying, trying to cover it up and saying, it's for safety and all sorts of things like that. But with these Epstein files, a lot of us, civilian citizens, and a lot of us already knew that these types of things were happening. But I think with the Epstein files, there's finally something that the public can see for themselves that is very difficult for the government to deny. And I think, especially here in America, for the past years, we've had a lot of division between Democrats and Republicans. There's been a lot of politics and a lot of people, being taught to fear each other, and all these different divides happening. And I think with the Epstein files, what we're finding is that this time, we've got children as the targets, and then if it's some sort of slavery, because we have so many children being affected, it's not just one ethnic group here. So when it comes to all these different divides about things like color and race and gender, I mean, we've got children from all over the world being enslaved here. And I think what we're finding is that a lot of us, just everyday humans, a lot of us just agree that, and finally finding common ground, that people that are engaging in these types of acts shouldn't really exist in this world, because we're not just talking about pedophilia and sexual abuse. We're also, in the files, there's also indicating things like cannibalism. They're actually eating children. So I think something like this, now that we have these Epstein files and people can actually see them for themselves and form their own opinion, I think a lot of people are just starting to agree that these people in the government, and a lot of people who either voted Democrat or Republican, a lot of people are now just deciding to abandon their parties because they're realizing that no matter who they vote for, it's probably a child-eating pedophile.
I mean, that is true. I think the line is buffering. It's like anytime we approach this subject, the internet is like, we don't want to hear this. It's always, I've never seen so much technical interference like we had today. But I hope you guys can hear me, watch me. So Jason, I agree with you. My question, and it also kind of feedbacks on one of the things that you said in your video, is that what next? This is something, the things that are being released, I can't bear myself to go through those files, because I feel, if you are not prepared to find a solution or do something, then going through and consuming this information with no outcome in the end is going to do something to your mental. So the question is, what next? What are people to do with the information they've received? Leaving a party and not voting for a Democrat or not voting for a Republican, it's not going to stop people doing what they are doing. And there's outrage about this, and people are still doing it. You'll be very surprised. People are still consistently doing it. Yes. So this is something that's inbred in people's DNA. And the reason why I mention going back to the slavery days is that people are now starting to recognize what Africans were saying was happening to them. Because everything you see in the Epstein file, they've done it to Africans. Yes. King Leopold went to a country and cut the hands of all children just for the sake of doing it. There are so many outrageous things that have happened in that continent and still happen up to today. And now the world is seeing it in America by the release of these files. But the question still lies, what next? What are people going to do to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Right? What is there going to be justice for the people mentioned or not? Is there going to be a new community? Is there going to be a new revelation that a new world needs to happen? Is there going to be a change in the system? Or are people just going to repeat anger, frustration, outrage, and then the next scandal?
Yeah, so, you did mention, there's, things like not voting and boycotting next elections. And I'm actually saying on social media, there are a lot of people who are saying, I'm never going to vote again. I'm never going to vote again, because no matter who I vote for, these people are all corrupt. It doesn't matter if it's left or right. And what we're seeing now is that, next steps, I think there are, and I'm also seeing a lot of Americans right now who are, I think right now more than ever, Especially, you know, we already talked about COVID a little bit, and there were a lot of people outraged about COVID. But I think with these Epstein files, it's a different level of people that are just outraged and disgusted. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are actually talking about, hey, we need to unite and band together, and we actually need to revolt against this government. And there are a lot of people are talking about, you know, it's actually legally, it's legal for, you know, Americans to overthrow the government. If you're talking about the Constitution, to overthrow the government if they're involved in tyranny. And there are a lot of Americans right now who are just saying, you know, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this government. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the mind games and the political warfare, the psychological warfare, and we have to do something about it. And if we don't right now, this is our chance, because this is something that we can finally agree upon. You know, it's not about color. It's not about race. It's not one ethnic group. It's not about gender. We have to stop arguing. We have to finally unite, and we have to do something. We have to do something to this government. And there are a lot of people saying, on what I see on social media, is that everyone in this, you know, in Washington, D.C., all of these politicians, a lot of people are saying, hey, we need to actually have some public executions, some death sentences, because this is not acceptable. And I was not hearing that when COVID. I did hear a lot of people outraged. I was outraged. But now with these Epstein files, I think it's like an entirely different level.
Definitely. And just to touch on you, how did you get into sort of like activism on your side? What made you get into this? What was the inspiration behind it on your side?
Well, you know, it's really difficult for me to say, because you know what happened to me. It's considered a conspiracy theory. You know, and I guess I consider myself a conspiracy theorist. And actually, a lot of people that already knew about Jeffrey Epstein were, you know, a lot of us knew it was happening before the Epstein files were released. And you know, I guess we're considered conspiracy theorists, and we're all considered crazy. But you know, there's something called mind hacking, and it's something that has happened to me, and I can't prove it. But you know, the government, they have technology and weaponry now to surveillance people and actually hack into the human brain and actually read thoughts and things like that, and surveillance people without actually having, it's wireless, almost like an internet.
Yeah, they've had that for years.
Satellites. So that's kind of how I was awakened, and I started realizing that all these conspiracy theories, they also have some truth to them.
No, you mentioned mind hacking. I remember a few years ago, well, actually about 14 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting an individual called Richard Bandler, and he's one of the founders of NLP. And he used to be a shrink, what we call a psychologist, you guys call a shrink out there in America. And he said to me, he stopped being a shrink when he discovered NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, where you can program somebody to completely delete and forget the bad things that have happened. And it kind of leads into what you're saying about mind hacking, which is the more serious side of it, whereby there are weapons now that can actually, not now, it's always existed, to be honest, whereby, you know, they can hack into your dreams, can hack into your mindset. I feel like the reason why the term conspiracy theory has gone popularized because of some of the media that's pushed it. I think also that the people who are awakened also make the mistake of also pushing that term. I think if you call yourself a thief for a long time and say being a thief is cool, or let's say street slang, sick, you know, in street slang, people will say, hey, that's very sick, right? It doesn't change the word sick. If sick means being sick, just because you've changed the word, the energy and frequency behind it is going to be sick. So I feel like the people who are truth tellers need to start changing that word and saying truth tellers. Just say, look, we just speak the truth, because some things can't be explained. For example, we were talking about AI with Heidegger earlier on. If 40 years ago, someone told you there's this thing I can do that when I type on it anything, it talks back to me and it will tell me anything I need to know. They'll say, "Oh yeah, that's magic. There's no way you are talking crazy. That could never happen, right?" But it's happening now. If someone told you, "Hey, you know what? 70 years ago, there's this bucket of water." Actually, they used to do that in villages in Africa. There's this bucket of water. If you watch here, you can communicate with somebody in another country and you see their face straight. We call it iPhone, but we call it a bucket of water. Someone say that can never happen. So whoever creates that is someone's awakened to a different kind of reality. So the mind hacking is real because mind hacking happens all the time and every day without us knowing. And now it's happening through internet, it's happening through all that sort of stuff. So you were mind hacked, and how did that happen? And how do you realize that you were mind hacked?
Well, for a lot of time, for the longest time, it was actually covert, and for the longest time, it was very subtle. So I actually believed that I was schizophrenic because this mind hacking, it can emulate schizophrenic. They can beam audio into your head. They can make you see things. So for the longest time, I believed I was schizophrenic, but then it just activated to an entirely different level, and it was so extreme and so bizarre that I just knew, okay, I'm not dealing with schizophrenia here. I'm dealing with something else. And for the longest time, I didn't even know what it was. It wasn't until someone actually told me that I was being mind hacked, that I was a targeted individual, that I learned that this was actually happening. And just over time, I started realizing that, this world, there is some technology, and not just technology, but there are things happening in this world that I never imagined. And just step by step, just finding after finding, I just started awakening, and learning more. And, just what you said, just learning the truth about this world, that this world really isn't what it seems. And that's really what my journey for the past 10 years has been. But I agree with you. This term conspiracy theorist, I don't usually refer to myself as conspiracy theorist. I get referred to as a conspiracy theorist, but yes, it's truth, it's awakening. And there's actually some indications that it was actually the CIA that popularized this term conspiracy theory. And that's actually how it got popularized.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's kind of like a psyop too. It's an operation.
No, that is true. That is definitely true. So Galactic Monk is your moniker. It's your name. I must say, when you talk about mind hacking, we've never had so much technical interruption. I don't know whether it's the Galactic Monk. I don't know what's happening. We've had so much technical interruptions today, and I've been doing this show for a long time. It's never happened, so that's a lot of energy there. So Galactic Monk. I don't know if you guys can hear me there, or I am still. Can you hear me at all, Jason?
I can hear you now, but you said so Galactic Monk, and then it kind of bleeped out, so I couldn't hear after that.
Yeah, so I was saying we're getting a lot of interference today, more than we've ever had. I don't know why. I just mentioned the name Galactic Monk. Where did that come from?
I just, I always had the monk part ever since I was a kid. I just had this connection to monks. I just always thought they were kind of cool. I can't explain why. I just always thought monks were really cool. I can't even explain why. I had a connection to it. But the galactic parts, it came after, my spiritual awakening. I'm ethereal. I'm very tuned in with the universe. I believe, I'm a star soul. I'm Aquarius. I'm something that's called a star seed. Some people may know what that is. We believe that we're beings from other dimensions and other worlds that came to America, that came to Earth to make the world a better place and to help humans refine themselves and get back on the right track. We're here to help. So we kind of consider ourselves, extraterrestrials, but that's kind of like where the Galactic Monk name came from. It's another rabbit hole.
Okay. No, I hear you. I hear you, Jason. So, what would you say can happen to make the world a better place? How can the world be a better place?
You know, I really think it's just, and I'm someone that I train, I take mixed martial arts, I consider myself a warrior, but I think right now what is really bothering humanity the most and keeping us to reach our potential is really fear. We're taught by our governments to fear each other. Like in America, we have so many different colors and people that identify and have different beliefs, and we're taught to fear each other. And then when it comes to other countries, our governments, we go to war and we're taught to fear people that are different than us. And I really think it's to just eliminate the fear, and I really think it's love. And I don't say that as someone that's just that just ignores that there's terror and there's horrors and there's evil in this world. There's always got to be a balance, but I really think that as someone that considers himself a warrior, I think we just need love.
Definitely. No, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. Jason, we're going to bring Heidegger back if we can. I don't know if he's there. We're buffering a lot of all the viewers. Apologies for the technical. We will bring Heidegger back in a minute. But before that, Jason, in terms of the future, where do you see yourself doing? Because there was a video where you mentioned about community. You're trying to put together a community of people that can come together and help and do something different. Is that something that you still want to do? Is that something you want to still go ahead with?
Yes, I mean, I'm always, almost feels like I'm always reinventing myself, but for the longest time I've been seeing all the evil in this world, and I almost a lot of times I don't even know what to do. But after these Epstein files and what I've seen with the public outrage and that it's now at a different level, I'm trying to start a serious organization, almost like starting a revolution and banding people together and uniting people. And I'm trying to establish an organization, a group to help people, give them tools and resources and organize things like peaceful protests, but something that's a direct response and established as a direct response to the release of the Epstein files. So that's something that I've just started working on.
Do you think peaceful protests in people's mental attitude, or you think the world needs to be more spiritual? What's your take on that? Because people have tried that in the past, and it's not really changed a lot. Do you think that people need?
Hello? We're having technical difficulties.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Apologies again to everybody. The technicals have been. It's the first day we've had this much technicals, but that means we're doing something right. I always say,
Yes.
When you're being interfered with technically, that means you're actually doing something right. If everything
trying to stop this,
sailing,
something is trying to stop this from happening. Something.
well, there you go. There you go. But we're very positive. We're very positive. This makes us. It makes us more happy when you're doing good things. That's when the thunder strikes better. I'm going to add Hedega back. Hedega, welcome back on the show. Welcome back on the show. Hedega, you were talking about community earlier on. Jason was talking about putting together a community. Jason talked briefly about what happened with the Epstein files and everything else. And I also spoke about things that have happened in Africa. What do you think the world needs to return back to love? Because I feel like when it all comes down to it, it's not a separation of what political party is this or how much money somebody has or whatever. It's just basically a lack of love. The world is infatuated with hate, jealousy, evil. And evil, I did a post the other day and I said, evil has now been made to look good. They have commercialized evil. So when you see evil, it's funny online. You will laugh. Wow, that's so funny. I need to share this with somebody. And when you make evil, hate look cool, the next generation don't understand what love is. So love is confusing. People don't want to get married no more. People don't want to show their love no more. People can't speak to each other lovingly no more. Even family members don't understand how to react anymore because it's been so divided with hate. How can the world return back to love? Hedega, and then you, Jason.
Okay. I love this question. I think we are complicating things. All right. We are in a time now where everything is really complicated. Everyone is divided. Everyone is saying my and I and not we anymore. Right. And I think that's for me the main problem. We are, as you mentioned already, Jason, fear is so dominant right now that everyone is so afraid someone's taking something away from them. But that's actually, if you think about it, not the truth. We add to each other's lives, right? In community, so much good things happen. Everyone is protected in the right community. Let me rephrase this, in the right community as well. Everyone gets and gives in that community. And I think we need to go back to that. I would like to reference my favorite philosophy, which is Ubuntu, where it says, I am because, we are. So we are always one. So if I harm you, I harm myself. And we need to go back to that understanding that as a global community, everyone, we are responsible for each other, right? And if we go away from just my success and I am fed and I am loved and I am carried to, let's see how we can make sure everyone feels that way, I think then we will get back to the right track. And we see that in bubbles, in small movements, and what you are trying to do, Jason, as well, with the way you are trying to engage against Epstein files and political people that are doing the wrong things. So I would say, let's not make it complicated. Let's make it very simple. Let's start with yourself. Let's make sure you are a good member of the community. You're a good daughter, a good wife or husband, right? And make sure that you are involved, everyone around you, that they are safe. And then they will also think about you, that you are safe. So thinking about us as one would be mine.
I love that response. Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Nothing but ourselves can free our mind. And you're also talking about a man in the mirror. Jason.
So I actually really like what Yadega said about focusing on the self. Because a lot of times, people, when it comes to fear and just feeling like, there are enemies, a lot of it has to do with comparing ourselves to other people. You're comparing ourselves to, other colors and other types of people, like people with different backgrounds, different financial level, different things happening. And when we start focusing on ourselves and trying to be the best version of ourselves, and we stop comparing with other people, it also just makes us more fulfilled. And also it increases our confidence. And when you start focusing inward and trying to be the best version of yourself, you start becoming more, not just confident, but accepting that there are different types of people out there, and you're not necessarily inferior or superior to other people, that we're all just different. And, another thing is that I say this often on social media, but I really feel like we need to have almost like a revolution of not paying attention so much to things like the mainstream media, who are always teaching us and showing us examples of things like racism and teaching us to hate each other. And I feel like, you know, if we started just more being in tune with the people that are actually everyday civilian citizens and actually living the life and don't actually have these lives of, you know, politicians and Hollywood and celebrities, we will learn that we all pretty much want the same thing. You know, we want to be able to live comfortably, we want peace in our life, you know, we want to be able to work on what we enjoy. And I think a lot of it, you know, it would be solved if we just stop paying so much attention to all these people, whether it's in the media or the government, just trying to divide us. I think that would do a lot too.
I love that. I love what you said there, Jason. While you were talking, it just occurred to me. Um, I'm I'm not talking about religious or religions, etc., etc. But when you study historically the story of Yeshua, who people call Jesus Christ, whose name wasn't Jesus Christ, was Yeshua. But when you study his story, isn't one of the things he came to do is to remind people of that spiritual side? Because you see, what the missing factor could be is that we think this is all there is. Like when you say something like, "Hey, you know, I came from another world," to da, 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 and people
Yes.
will be like, "That doesn't make any sense." But the thing is, everybody comes from somewhere, right?
Yes.
Before you are in your mother's womb, I mean, even in the Bible, it says, you know, the source, Yahuwah, God knew every hair of your head before you were in your mother's womb, right? Meaning that you came from somewhere before you came into your mother's womb. And I know this for a fact because I actually, my daughter, who's 1 year old now, um, before she was born, right? My wife went through an issue where she lost all the water. So every doctor said it will not happen. Like literally, we went to Paris, went everywhere. Doctors were like, "This is not happening. It's still, this is it's gone to," and she's bleeding, etc., etc. But she came to me in a dream, right? And in the dream, she was cracking jokes and laughing and funny and everything else. And when I prayed about it, it was like God said to me, and I wrote it down. He said to me, "She's going to be so funny," right? Her name is Anissa. This is when everybody said it's not going to happen. I'd seen her already, right? You cannot tell. She was born, she's 1 year old now. She's so funny. She's so funny. She's just cracking jokes. We have a video on YouTube where she just kind of like, we were in Egypt the other, and she was just making, and the thing is, when you look at it, you cannot tell me I didn't see her in a dream before she was there, because I'm telling you, I did. I knew her name, I knew everything, I saw all of that, and that gave me confidence to tell the doctors that you're wrong. This is going to happen. And we did a whole documentary about this. It's on my YouTube channel, where I showed the documentary from the start of the pregnancy to every doctor saying no to the end result, right? Now, why I'm saying this, I'm saying, has our spiritual side been forgotten? Has the
I believe,
side of us, go on, go
yes,
on.
I believe so. Very, very, very much. And you know, I talk about this sometimes on social media, but you know, I really feel, and what I've learned is that religion, and I'm talking about religion from all over the world, throughout the generations, a lot of it has become censored and controlled, and a lot of it has been almost deleted out of the religions. And I'm someone that considers myself spiritual, but not necessarily religious. And if I was to place myself in some sort of, you know, religious group, I would consider myself an omnist, which really means kind of like you're combining all the religions and seeing the truth in all of them. So, you know, and I really feel like, you know, this in all these religions, you know, there's a lot of, it's become a lot of blind faith instead of something that actually just makes sense. It's a lot of common sense in spirituality, and I feel like there's truth in all of them, you know. And it's really, once you start, especially with things like, believing in God. I do believe in God, but I've learned that the Bible has become very, very censored, and a lot of the spiritual connection and connections to the universe has become censored. And when this starseed thing is considered new age to some people, but it really isn't. It's really just, we're taking a lot of this ancient spirituality and we're bringing it back, and people think it's new because they haven't heard of it before. But it's actually what we're doing. All the spirituality, it's ancient. It's been around for ages and generations. It's just been censored. And over time, as a human, as humanity, we've just forgotten. We don't know about it anymore. And that's what's happened to me. Not to me, to us.
No, I hear what you're saying. I'll speak to it again in a minute. It's funny, just the feedback on that. You talking about religion. It's not new what you're saying, because even in the Bible, it actually says Yeshua went to a temple, a church, and scattered it and said, this is a marketplace. This is not it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not my Father's house. So there's proof of him even rebelling against that, which is a system that has been placed in front of spirituality and connection to source, which is the Most High.
Yes.
Which it's like someone saying, it's like if a phone could talk and say electricity doesn't exist, you tell the phone is mad. And how do you charge yourself? Because if electricity doesn't exist, how do you charge yourself? But you can't see electricity, but when you touch it, you understand it exists, because it will shock you. So it's the same thing. Hediga, what do you think of that? Because you mentioned earlier on that you do a vision board. I have done a vision board before, and I actually have a board somewhere there in my office. And I was going to do it this year. I've just been a little bit lazy. I need to get that done. And I did, the last time I did a vision board was 5 years ago. And the funny thing is, on the vision board, I put things in there like getting married and getting this and getting that, and everything came, right? Now, I then realized that the vision board serves as a tool, but actually there is a mechanism we have internally that is kind of like a computer that we don't use because we've not been taught to use. So a vision board is kind of a Western way of saying, do it through this. It's like what I think about Sir Graham Bell and the phone. Nobody will convince me that two people took a cup and put it here and say, can you hear me? Can you? And it became a phone. I'm like, just hear the name telephone and you understand it's telepathy. And in the ancient times, people were able to communicate without a phone, right? Because you still can do it, because you can still communicate with yourself without a voice. You can speak, if you don't say nothing, you can have a full-on conversation with your head without using your voice, right?
Yes.
Animals, there are animals today, loads of animals, they are having full-blown conversations with telepathy because they've not learned language, right? So in fact, language has come in the way of the higher sense. So the telephone, telepathy got in the way of us actually communicating. This comedian told a funny story, and he said back in the day in the village of Africa, you will see a grandmother will sit and her son will be in town, and she'll be like, my son's going to come tomorrow at 4 p.m. Can you make sure you cook the food? And the son at 4 p.m. will be coming, and then the food will be cooked. And they'll be like, how did you know? How did you know? It's like, come on. Like, I know if someone is going to be ill in 5 days, they'll be like, yeah, you need to get grass and you need to cover because in 5 days' time, you're going to be. There was a strong connection to that spiritual part, which, by the way, happens when you sleep. So when you do it, what do you think about our forgetfulness of that spiritual side and the connection with source, which is the Most High? I'm not talking about religion. I mean Yahweh. I mean God. You can call him God, or you can go Yahweh. I'm talking about the source, connection to the Most High, because the spiritual has to connect with something, like the phone has to connect to electricity for it to be charged up. So what do you think of that lack of that in society?
Yes. So I do believe strongly in God. I come from an Orthodox Christian background, so somewhat religious, I would also consider myself. But I believe that, just what you shared, there's moments where but you don't have the information in a way, but you kind of know your sister is calling, so your mom is calling, or your mom knows that you're coming. Those kind of things just show me how that there's one source, right, for everything and everybody on this planet. And secondly, it shows me that we are all connected. And that goes
100%.
it goes back to me saying, okay, because we're all connected, we need to care for each other, because we can feel each other's pain, we can feel each other's joy. Even if you see bad things happening in the world, why is everyone feeling bad at that time? Some maybe tune it in, some maybe tune it out, but we all not feeling well because we kind of all are seeing, okay, someone is harmed, whether it's myself, whether it's someone else. So I think we need to, again, simplify, go back to the basics, go back to source, the universe for someone. I mean, that's terminology, right? I say God,
Yes.
someone else says universe, and one says source. So I kind of am also a little bit with Jason, what you're saying, like in everything there's a truth. For me, that's just a way of God speaking to everyone on this world in a language that everyone understands, right? For me, it might be Orthodox Christianity. For someone else, it might be spirituality. For someone else, it might be Islam or Judaism. So it's just one source speaking to us in the way that we understand. And I
I
think
love that.
most of them are saying the same thing, right? Be a good human being, make sure you take care of your elders, your surrounding. And I think if we, again, simplify it, bring it back to the basis of those things, we can at least, if we don't agree on the way to it, we can agree on the values behind it, right? Which are,
I love that.
words usually the same. That would be.
I love that. You see that they try to make it not a good show, but it's the debated show. We fight through it. So guys, it's a debated show. So we are now going into the debated box. The debated box are a couple of curated questions. We don't know what we're going to get out of the box, but something is going to come out of the box from the debated box. So I want to pick one of the cards from the debated box, and I'll read it out, and you guys will have to tell me your hot take of what you think about this. So this one is, what happens when you sleep? Debated. What happens when you sleep? So I'll give you context. What you are taught at school is that don't ask any questions. When you go to bed, go to sleep, and you get up in the morning and you eat breakfast. And everyone is like, but why are we breaking the fast? What were we fasting for? Why don't we eat? So what's going on? So what happens when you sleep? And also, why do you sleep and sometimes get up and you're so tired when you've been sleeping? So what happens when you sleep? I got to start with Jason, and I'm going to go to Iriga.
Okay, so I'm going to take this almost from, I'm going to combine this. We've been kind of talking about source. We were just talking about source, and I'm going to kind of combine this with the Matrix. So,
Right.
I feel like when we sleep, and I feel like, we're all here. Well, sometimes we hear about this term, the chosen ones, like how we're each like in this universe. We're connected to source, but we're in this universe, and it's like this entire Matrix simulation. And I feel like, and we also have in this concept, we have a higher self that's when we're in this simulation, but we also have a higher self that's somewhere else around this source that is actually our real form. Now, I think when we're sleeping, it's almost like, we're in this simulation, but, we're almost like a battery. We have to recharge. And then our higher self is also doing certain things, making upgrades to ourselves. Maybe making repairs, healing us, doing all sorts of different things. Almost like if, we are here on a simulation and we're like, this sentient being, and we're at another source area, outside of the Matrix. There's actually ourselves, where we're actually, making these different changes to ourselves to continue throughout the simulation and, get this best experience and be able to accomplish whatever we are here to do, our purpose, our mission.
I like that. I like that. You mentioned the Matrix there. I wish there was no violence in the Matrix. Like every time I've tried to watch the Matrix, I've fallen asleep, and I know what it's trying to say. In fact, what the real lady that wrote the original Matrix, I was going to do an interview with her, but she freaked me out on the phone. But I can't get past. There's so much violence. I can't just get past that violence to actually watch it. But there's so much hidden stuff in there. Hey, got a same question to you. What happens when we sleep?
Okay. I'm not sure like how big it opens into, like, if I'm away from my body or if I'm in my body sleeping. I think I did not really go into this topic, and I think my brain does not understand yet fully as well what kind of capabilities there are. The only thing that I think would like to highlight is, I was like sedated once because I had an operation, and since I'm curious, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be sedated and will be gone. Will that be the same experience as if I'm sleeping? And it was not. It was black and lights on after that, right?
Wow.
So it's the same stage. There has to be something different happen when we are sleeping, because otherwise I would feel the same when I'm sedated and going through an operation.
Sure.
So there's a difference. I think whether you call it like your higher self, I think our conscious or unconsciousness speaks to us in our sleep. There's a lot of things, that we go through, maybe that happens visibly or invisibly during the day. I think it's also a time of quiet. So if you believe in God, it's also maybe a moment of speaking to each other in a way. And, through dreaming, as you said, right, when you shared your story about your beautiful child, right, there's also that part where something is speaking to you, but also yourself are speaking to yourself in that moment, just going through the things that are happening in your life. And here I will give it to the both of you, because I'm not so familiar, but I think
no, but the thing is, what you will find is the funny thing, Heidegger, what you find is the reason why these questions are so poignant is because of all the things that we get taught at school. I remember human biology class. I got taught everything, what your finger does, what your head does. What the most important thing that happens to us every day what you sleep, you literally was like, nope, we're not teaching you that. I believe I agree with you, Jason, about the higher self. I believe you have your mind, body, and soul, and the higher self is your soul. And I believe your higher self is not actually outside of your body. Your higher self is inside of you. And I believe that what happens is that your mind is where the mental happens, where, the reason why you could say your mind was mind hacked or mind programmed, or, you're playing with my mind, or my mind is driving me insane, is that your mind is not your friend. It's just like a magnet. It's like a pull that's there to just attract anything. If you say to your mind now, that's what I said, the original AI was your mind. If I tell you three now, think of a cow dancing and eating cake. You think of a cow dancing and eating cake. And I'm like, how is that possible? Your mind, it's possible of doing everything AI is doing, right? That's your mind. And your brain, which is body and everything else, it's a bank system that just stores the memories and just, go. But your soul leaves your body every night that you sleep. And that story of Cinderella is actually a secret story of when your soul leaves your body. What happens is that your body has a body clock. And sometimes people say the soul comes back when the body, say if you're meant to be getting up every morning at 7 a.m. and your soul has left and had such a good, just traveling the universe, doing crazy stuff, and it comes out a little bit late and your body's up, before your soul has come, you get something whereby you start shaking and you want to scream, but you can't hear yourself because your body's awakened and your soul's not there. And your soul has to come back for your body to move. But your soul leaves your body every day and every night then you sleep. That's why we pray before we sleep, because you don't know where your soul is gonna go to. Now, if you watch a horror film while you're sleeping, your soul is gonna go somewhere dark, in a dark place. If you listen to gospel music, watch comedy, your journey is gonna be a much more better journey. But your soul is leaving your body. It's happening. So, what we are to do is to learn about our soul. And the problem is, some of us haven't been taught to have a relationship with the soul. So you've not fed the soul. So that soul food that we're talking about, your soul is disconnected to your mind and your body. So there is an imbalance. So you find yourself in a situation where you feel like there's something missing because you have a soul that you don't have a relationship with, right? So every time it's going outside your body and coming back, but it's not talking to you because there's no relationship. And the day your body goes, because all of us will leave the world one day, your body is going to rotten and go to the soul. That's when your soul is now in this place that it's always been in, but it's confused. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Because you didn't know how to train your soul while you were on earth. So I think the mission is everything that they've said we shouldn't do is to learn about the soul. And the proof of this, you said you're someone that believes in God, and you're Orthodox, which I saw. I mean, you guys in Ethiopia, they have the original churches, original Bible, and everything else. And you see that Yeshua dies and comes back the next day to show the disciples that there's life after death, that there's something that happens after the body. You can beat my body, smash my body, do all of this to my body, but I'm coming back to show you that this is real, right? And the thief at the cross believes him in body and says, hey, do you know what? Don't forget me. He goes, don't worry. By the time we get up, you will be with me in the other place, meaning that we are going to somewhere that's real, right? So that spiritual side is realer than the physical side, even. Now, I think the elites know this, right? Because the same way you can use fire to cook food, you can use fire to kill. So elites can twist anything for the negative. So knowing this information is why they go into those worlds. There's actually a film called Inception, and you can see that film and you'll understand. They go into the dream world and they do things and then they come back in the physical world. So then you're seeing things happening in the real world. So that's what I think happens to your soul. And I think a lot of people who are watching, if you've never encountered this, research. Knowledge is power. Learn what you haven't learned at school. I took my kids up. My kids don't go to school. My 5-year-old doesn't go to school because my mom did the same with me. When I was growing up, she actually took me out of school and started her own school and uni and college and all that sort of stuff. Another story. And the reason why was that once you take yourself out of what they program you, you can start asking the real questions that make you understand where you're from, where you're going, and everything else. So that was the question about mind, body, and soul. I'll pick up the next question. And the next question is global warming. Is it real or is it a myth? Global warming, is it real or is it a myth?
Which one?
I'm going to start with Heavy Girl. I'm going to start with you on that one, and then we'll move to Jason. Global warming, is it real or is it a myth?
For me, it's real. I don't think it's a myth.
Okay.
Most and foremost, because I just see how we are treating the world, right? How much pollution we are creating, how we are treating animals. I mean, whether you eat them or not, that's not the question. It's more how we are treating everything that we're using, and it's not in respect, right? It's not respectful the way we're using the resources, the things that live on this planet with us. So it has to have consequences. It cannot be without consequences, because whenever you manipulate something in a bad way, something has to come back in the other way. And we can see that. We can see on how the air is changing, that you cannot see the stars, how the ice is melting. And so for me, it's real, just because mainly obviously because of the statistics that are around that topic, because of the changes we see on Earth, but especially just by looking at how we're treating it. So for me, it has to have a consequence.
Okay. So for Heidegger, global warming is real. It's a debated live. Everyone's entitled to your opinion. Jason, global warming, real or myth?
So you know what? I think it's real and it's a myth, because I think it's happening, but the reasons why, the media says it's happening isn't what the real case is. I'm aware of things like chemtrails, with these military agencies doing things like weather manipulation. Part of it is experimentation, and it goes into all these different aspects as well, like astrology. There's things like where the sun is actually at war with Saturn, and I feel like this global warming, sometimes with this weather manipulation, they're actually magnifying the sun and creating this global warming with weather manipulation and chemtrails and things like this. And I feel like part of it is these Saturnian forces, and part of this is astrology, but you have these Saturnian matrix forces that are trying to make it seem like the sun is the problem, when they're the ones that are actually creating this global warming effect with actual military classified technology, things like chemtrails and cloud seeding. So I think it is happening, but and I wouldn't exactly call it a myth, but I don't think it's happening for the reasons that the media and these environmental groups claim it's happening.
I like that. So so Heidegger thinks global warming is real, and Jason thinks it's real and it's a myth, and it's also real, but it is being created by things like chemtrails, etc., etc. By the way, they've actually admitted that chemtrails is actually happening, and there is a lot of man-made issues with the weather, and it's been happening for time. So like you said, that you can't do things in the world and expect nothing to happen, but to be intentionally wanting to hurt the world is the problem. And I think there is a clear intention to hurt the earth, and for other reasons. I mean, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, there are reasons why, but there are other reasons why people want to do it. Okay, cool. So we've got that now. Next card on here. This is looking like straight into Heidegger territory, because it's basically what we were talking about. So it says AI versus human creativity. Who wins? AI versus human creativity. Who wins? Debated. Go, Heidegger. This is your one. Let you start with that, and the next one.
Human creativity, 100%. AI is a reflection of it. It's
Right.
I mean, it's based on data. Where does the data come from? The data comes from us, so it can compute basic humans, right? It computes basically on what we provided. That's why it's so important to put the right values into AI, so it computes the things that we want to see. But I would never say so. For me, I understand that maybe AI in the future, because it could be also, or maybe already now, and we don't have the information, can do much more than we think it can. Yeah, 100%. We just get the small glimpse. That's not the reality. That's behind scenes what we're seeing. But I mean, human creativity, especially understanding, the relational things, the nuances, the community-based approaches, can never be replicated with by a computer. It can be mimicked. It can be mimicked 100%. It can never be compared to human creativity. That's why creativity is such an important skill. Keep it at your heart.
Creativity is very important. You got to be creative. Jason, AI versus creativity, who wins?
I say humans, at least for right now. I say this because I do use AI. As a founder, I implement AI and I use it more like a tool. but for what I have found when it comes to actually creativity and brainstorming and coming up with ideas, I feel like if AI does it, it's just there's this touch to it that's very mechanical and just doesn't have a human touch to it. So for things like creativity and actually brainstorming, actually like creating something like the coming up with the actual idea, I still think humans do it better. But there are certain things that I do think AI does better than humans, such as things that are like very mechanical, things that are very time consuming and repetitive. I feel like AI does that at a rate that humans just cannot compete with, because we just the AI can do certain things like so fast. Like say like for example, I've started doing my taxes with AI, and like for things where it has to analyze like a huge spreadsheet, it can do it at a speed that a human just cannot compare with. But for creativity, actually creating something, coming up with an idea, something that you're just creating from scratch, I still think humans do it better than AI, a lot better.
And like, did you guys hear about the AI social network, where AI agents have started their own social network where they are posting on there, talking to each other? Humans are not allowed, and they've already started their own religion on there. And it's just like I remember putting this post once and saying, what happens when AI wipes up the whole history, and then you have an AI president, an AI minister, and an AI leader of a country? What then happens to humans when AI starts ruling humans, if it's not doing so already?
That's why it's important to add in the right values now. We can still shape the direction it might be heading. But you are fully right. I mean, I love what you said before, Jordan. I don't think we have, 40 years ago, we would not expect this. So we have no clue what happens in 40 years from now, right? Even maybe our brains cannot even comprehend what is feasible. But if I look into my gut feeling, into my intuition, I would rather say creativity. But it is interesting to see what is happening and what we don't know yet, what is already taking place.
I like that. I like that. One more question. We're going to go to a final hot take. So one question here from the box is, are we getting more comfortable not talking to each other because of the internet? We actually touched on this earlier on as well. Are we getting more comfortable not talking to each other because of the internet? What's your take? I'll start with Jason, and then I go to Hidega.
I think we definitely are becoming more comfortable not talking to each other. And I actually think it may even be this entire plan by the people that control big tech and big government and big corporations. And, it even kind of ties back to what we were talking about, the Epstein files. So many people are outraged, they're disgusted, and we're just posting on social media instead of actually getting out there and trying to make a difference. Yeah. So I do think we are definitely becoming more comfortable not talking to each other. A lot of people don't even, if they're dating and getting into a relationship, a lot of people start on the internet now. They meet people on the internet, and they don't even naturally meet people just out in public or doing some sort of activity where they're near the person. So I definitely think we're becoming more comfortable not talking to each other because of the internet.
That's true. Hey, Hidega, what's your take?
I agree to a certain point, but I also think we can see trends of people wanting to meet each other in real life. That's what we talked about in the beginning, Jordan, you and I as well. We can see the running clubs, the craft clubs, the debate clubs. We can see people, being more active anymore. But you can all do all those things by yourself. I do not need to do that with someone else, but I want to. So I can see, okay, yes, we are getting disconnected, but I can also see like the huge void that people are feeling, the tiredness of social media and online stuff, especially driven by COVID. And I can see people wanting to meet in real life again. Like, we have a lot of events. There are so many events right now, you don't even know where to go anymore. And that for me is a clear signal for us to meet in real life. But maybe when it comes to like mobilizing, right? Political mobilization, we're not doing it in real life where it's maybe crucial to meet. But I think there's a strong trend or movement towards quality time with the right tribe. That I can clearly see. Yeah. So I agree.
I like that. I like that. No, I like that. I like that. So we have reached the part of the show where we call "What is your hot take?" Now, if you don't know, it's a very American thing. We do. If you look at the debated Instagram, we've done it with several people, hundreds and hundreds of people. And a hot take is basically something that you completely believe in, that you don't care if people don't believe in it. This is your thing. This is, you will stand and argue this for the rest of your life. What is your hot take? So I think I'll start with you, Jason, what your hot take is, and then I'm going to go with you, Hedegger, as well.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about my most recent hot take, and this I just came up with this after the release of the Epstein files, which we were talking about earlier. But I think right now, after the Epstein files, now that we've seen that, it's both Democrats and Republicans, no matter what side you look at, you've got all these child-eating pedophiles. My hot take now is that if you're still supporting the Democrats or the Republicans, either side, you're not just a pedophile protector or pedophile supporter, you're actually a pedophile.
Wow, that is a hot take. That's a hot take and a half. That's very serious hot take and a half. Hedegger, what is your hot take?
Oh, how can I follow after this in terms of a hot take? What would I say is a hot take? I think we are at a crossroad right now. We can shape the future in a way we would like to see it. I think African philosophies are the solution for it. And if we don't shape it now, we are creating something that will work against us. So that's not so hot, but kind of hot take of mine.
I like that. That was hot. That's a good hot take. As you guys know, this is a debated live show and it's sponsored by Monies.com. And Monies.com is a brand new platform that allows creators, content creators, influencers, and much more to make money off the platform. There's about 3 million consumers out there that want to pay for your content. So you can put content all over the wall. You can do live streams. You can put a paywall on there. And I'm hoping to see you guys after the show registering on Monies.com. They are one of our partners here. And we're creating a community on Monies. Monies is MONEYS.com, making sure creators actually earn money, not just posting on Instagram and posting on YouTube and et cetera, et cetera. It's always good. Doesn't matter whether you have a following of 1 to 1 million. It doesn't matter. Once you start creating on Monies, they will push you to the database to ensure that every post you do that you want to you can actually have supporters that support you, especially people that want to build a community. One of the things that people find when they're trying to build a community is that they don't have the funds to kind of really make that community champion the goals that you want to reach. So Monies.com is there to do that. So make sure you guys, as my guest, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Monies.com, posting on Monies.com as well. And you guys can follow me on Monies.com too. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on the Debated Live. See, we made it through to the end. The technical demonials was trying to get in the way, but you can't. They said you can't stop a good thing. You just can't stop a good thing. And you guys at home, you'll be able to rewatch this on Vuvix TV and then on all different platforms as well. And it's also going to be on the Republic Africa and the National Post as well. So I was joined by Hedegger and Jason Lee. Is there any final words for the people out there and the world in general, now that we know, and all of us know that, all of us form part of this world, and anything you say and you want to come true and you believe it in all your heart, you can put it out there. So what's the last positive thing we can say for this world that we're living, for our people of this world? I will start with you, Jason, and I'll finish with you, Hedegger.
I'm just going to say we all just need to love each other. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep it really
There you
short.
go. You gotta love each other. You gotta love each other. I love that. Hedega.
Yes. I want to add to that by saying we are all connected. We are all one, and we need to act in that way. That's it.
Amazing. Hedega, Jason Lee, it's been a pleasure having you guys on board. Wish you all the best. God bless you guys. Take care and enjoy the rest of your. I look forward to see you guys on Monies and also inviting you guys back on the Debated live show. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much,
Right.
Gordon. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jason.
From the underground to the world stage. One stage, countless voices. The conversation that shapes culture, politics, entertainment, and society. Politicians, comedians, musicians, actors, public servants, leaders, unfiltered.
There you go, guys. It was an amazing show, and hopefully see you guys on the next episode of Debated Live. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this show with your friends, family, and much more. We bring you live guests every single week here and talking about subjects that you really want to talk about. It was a lovely, lovely show having the guys down here. And yes, subscribe to Debated Live on Instagram. Is the Debated Show on all platforms. TikTok at the Debated Show, Instagram at the Debated Show, Facebook at the Debated Show. Make sure you also tune into next week's show. We have a surprise guest from the film and television industry joining us for the show. So make sure you tune into that as well. So what can I say? It's Wednesday today. Look after yourselves and each other. Take care. It's been an absolutely lovely show. I've learned a lot, and I hope you guys have learned too. Let's go. Let's go.